They can't stop the day we dissect the news. Flipping on the edge, choices to choose. Politics and laughter, a blend that's so real. Tuning for the stories that make you feel. With guests from every angle, let's bridge the divide. Finding the truth in the humor we can't hide.
Okay, all right, so why don't we get going here? And this is another episode of the Prime Directive.
Indeed it is. Welcome back, everyone.
So
Great to see y'all.
as you can see, we've added a couple of people or more to the seats here.
It's a big one.
It is.
It's a biggie.
It's the big one.
Yeah.
It's the big one.
It's a biggin.
Yeah. So no, this week
The size is enormous.
this week
On the Prime Directive.
this week. Oh my God.
It is. This is the super sibling episode
That's
that
right.
we've got. That should give you a hint as to our guest.
Yeah. So I have my sister. This is Dr. Emily Batson.
And I have my brother. This is Loren H. Hutchins the fourth, also known as Chip.
Yeah, we call him Chip.
We call him Chip. You can too.
Please enjoy.
Well, we're lucky enough in our families to have people that are very, very high up in their professions.
Truly exceptional.
They are. And they've far and away outdone me.
We're the slackers of the family.
Why don't we have Admar read our
Admar,
spiel
take it
this
away.
week?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you. So, welcome to the Prime Directive, a podcast with a bold mission to explore this strange new world by discussing a range of topics of interest to us. We ask that you join us to listen with an open mind and look with your human eyes to thoughtfully interact and share your thoughts. We are seeking life forms willing to engage in respectful discourse because we put the civil back in civilization.
That's right, back in there.
Real deep in there.
Right?
Real deep.
Real deep.
Emily's like, what the hell have I gotten myself into after
I
hearing that shit?
That ought to frighten everyone right there.
I mean, how many Star Trek copyrights did you just violate there?
No.
Let's get that out of the way
Disclaimer.
again.
Disclaimer.
Nothing to do with Star Trek. Nothing to do with Star Trek.
No, Gene Roddenberry, no.
But a big love to Gene and his vision.
We love you.
Yes, and to I kind of like the newer
It's kind
ones.
of, we're paying homage in a way, but not directly, indirectly.
Never.
So indirectly.
Yeah, our Prime Directive is a little bit different. We're not so alien focused, right?
Except
right,
Admar. Except Admar.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Who is also seeking aliens.
My sister's
life.
looking around like, what is this podcast? Well, we're going to have an alien come in a little later. And
You never know.
Yeah.
Everything goes.
Remember, my legal name is Chip Hutchins. Chip Hutchins.
Oh my God. Oh, funny. Okay, so we brought you awesome siblings in here, brother and sister, to basically just share a little bit about your stories, your backgrounds, some of our crazier stories we've had with families, if you're willing to share, and then just to kind of chat. The whole idea of the Prime Directive is for any of the few people watching out there to give them a sense of like a northern star in which to kind of like, hey, look at what these people did. Maybe I could copy that. Or, how did your stories unfold?
Well, let's also set the thread here. We always forget the thread, but the thread is innovation in healthcare, because both of our siblings have a common thread in that they are both involved in the healthcare industry in very different ways, but very fascinating ways. So we really want to share them to be able to share their experiences from those two different perspectives, which I think you will really enjoy.
Yeah. And how did you find your way, both of you? Like, how did you find your ways through just everything that we've had to go through in our lives to kind of become the people that you are and are continuing to become?
Yeah.
It's a fascinating, I think, worthwhile and worthy discussion.
So
to probably
intros,
have.
let's go ladies first.
Yes.
And introductions as to who you are and what you do.
Okay. and I'm looking at the camera.
Get nice and close. Get nice and close.
Yeah,
'cause
sort of, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Emily Batson. I am a prosthodontist. What is a prosthodontist? It's a long word. It is a dental specialist. I'm a dental specialist who I really deal with complex dental scenarios. Usually the entire mouth is involved. So that can mean anything from cancer patients who need everything rehabilitated to trauma victims, gunshot wounds. Nowadays, it seems to be more elderly and individuals who have just struggled with dentistry their entire lives, and everything's falling apart, and they just need a lot of comprehensive care. And so it involves a lot with I guess it does involve a lot with newer technologies, dental implants. That's a big, huge part of the practice of what I do to rehabilitate individuals. But I have a lot of old school analog stuff too. I have my own lab. So we make our own dentures, we make our own crowns, bridges, everything that's, goes into place, we make there. How did I get to this point? So I guess I've got to give some credit to Mom. And she's probably stopping by today, by the way.
She did earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. With some tax bill or something that you get.
Yeah. So she worked for a prosthodontist who pretty much took me under his wing, trained me as a dental assistant when I didn't know what I was going to be doing after high school, because I really didn't think I would go into anything other than maybe bartending or waitressing. Not that isn't a career. It certainly is. Yeah. But Dr. Zimmerman really was a huge, it still is a huge influence. Yeah. So I just kind of fell in love with the whole profession. It's just my particular specialty is a great mix of artistry and medicine and dentistry and human interaction, and it's just a lot of I don't know, it combines all of those things, so it's a good mix for me. So let's see, I did undergrad at UCCS. I didn't actually get my bachelor's.
What?
Fast track.
Clutching pearls.
Fast track.
No. You didn't need it, right? You didn't really need it.
Nothing
right?
wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
You complete a specific amount of requirements, and then away, you go. If a dental school accepts you. At that time, there were not really a lot of females in dentistry. I don't know, maybe it's like an 80-20 mix. So I think probably I was given some preference. But in doing that, I was also able to obtain a scholarship through the United States Army. So that helped pay for dental school at Indiana. I was there for 4 years, great time, lots of learning. And then after dental school, did a 1-year AGD at Fort Carson.
What does AGD stand for?
AGD is an advanced education in general dentistry. And that should be like across the board. I feel like that should be mandated in dental education now. Because that's like a 5th year. That's not that I was experimenting on soldiers, but
everybody's got to practice. It's called a dental practice. That's okay. Good job.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, there was a lot of learning that year.
I envision like Dr. Frankenstein.
I mean, military doctors always get a bad rap, but there's like, I'm sure there are some patients that I treated that were like, God, I would never go to the dentist again. So bad. So bad. So after that year, then moved to Germany. I was stationed in Germany. The first unit I was with the 1st Armored Division. I was with a Forward Support Battalion. I was the brigade dental surgeon. And that was a whole different environment. Great. I mean, again, great, experience. I would not trade that for anything. Totally different subset of patients. Everybody's young and healthy. But that was when, we were kind of right in the midst of the Iraq War and what was going on in Afghanistan. So focus there goes to making somebody, combat ready. So you just take care of what you have to take care of, and you have to make sure they're deployable and that they can go out and fight the mission and not have a dental emergency because that takes them out of the mission. So those were, the main focuses in Germany. Then I switched to another unit that was really what we call in garrison. So I was the clinic commander at Friedberg Dental Clinic. What's the claim to fame to Friedberg Dental Clinic? Or I should say Friedberg, the post is...
Freebird.
Friedberg.
Oh, Friedberg. Not Freebird.
So close. Again, really good. Good.
That's where Elvis Presley was stationed.
So it did have a music connection.
Yeah, I know. There's some pictures of him.
I think we knew that because we visited you.
You did.
Yes.
Yeah, you were pregnant with Ella back then, right?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's when Ella came along. And then, so after Germany decided to get out of the military, we moved back to Pueblo, Colorado, and that's where I started working in both private practice and then in a community clinic. That's really where I think I sort of, that's where I got my feet on the ground. And that population specifically working with sort of a...
lower SES.
Yeah.
Socioeconomic stratification. Yeah.
Yep. And there's just a lot of need. There's just...
Yep.
Like, you just would never think that you would see that much dental need.
Yeah. For anybody,
America.
right? So for anybody that doesn't know,
Yeah.
Pueblo is about an hour south of the Springs.
Yep.
And it just, great town, great people.
Wonderful community.
Incredible community. But it's very blue collar. That's
Yep.
just the way to probably put it. Steel mill work.
Yeah. Just so...
Hard working people.
Yes, they are.
Really collectivist, family oriented.
Yes. Yeah. Just
so
very blue collar.
I think
Yeah.
preventive dentistry sort of takes a back seat,
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons. A lot of that being financial too, but that's really where I saw, geez, I need to know more. I either need to go back to school or find another way to just do it. So I could take weekend classes, the rest of my life to try to obtain the information I needed and the education, or I just said I can bite the bullet and go back and specialize. So that's what I did. I found a program at North Carolina. At the time, I still think it was the best program in the country. And I trained under Dr. Lyndon Cooper, who is a phenomenal prosthodontist, and pretty much, he's not a micromanager. He's all of his residents, you go and it's like a giant playground. So at the time that I was there, we were just getting into really pushing the envelope with CAD/CAM dentistry. So that's, being able to take a scan of a tooth or a mouth and go to the next step without having to do everything with an analog model. So we were really doing a lot of that, a lot with dental implants. That was like a phenomenal 3 years. It was just great. So following that, transitioned back to Colorado Springs, worked in private practice for a few years, and then started my own, I guess that was 2017.
Wow.
Yeah,
Can you believe it?
Oh,
You're coming up on 10 years.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
It's been wild and crazy and fun and great.
And successful.
Yeah, I have been. I'm very grateful for... I'm very grateful for the dental community that's here in Colorado Springs. That is always kind of a tricky scenario to navigate as a dental specialist, because a lot of the procedures I do, dentists can do them too. But I think that
2 times dentist of the year, if you all can peek at the magazine here, and Emily's on the cover.
Yeah, that I think is, I hope would just attest to the local community. The dentists trust me.
Yeah.
With
Were
their
you
patients.
president of the Dental Association ever? Or?
Yes, I was president of the Colorado Springs Dental Society. Let's see, what was that?
Was that a year or two?
No, COVID. That's right.
That was when COVID happened.
That was kind of a tough time to be in anything.
Yeah.
That was a few years ago.
A position of
Wow.
leadership during that crap.
People's mouths. How are you going to not spread COVID if that's what you got to work on
Yeah.
every day?
Yeah. I think in dentistry we've been so careful about bugs. I'll just call them bugs in general for so long. Most you guys probably don't remember this, but in the 80s there was a big mess. There was a dentist in Florida who was injecting patients with his blood that was infected with.
I heard
was
about
it the
that.
HIV?
Yes.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
it was very sad, but that really started everything for infection control in dentistry. And so, I mean, like night and day difference, for gloves, for mask. COVID was really I don't know, that was an interesting time. We had a lot of really weird suggestions, like what we should be doing.
What's
in
the
our
weirdest one?
offices.
What did you hear? What's the strangest one?
Probably the fogger, or the defogger.
Defoggers.
Defogger.
In the
Yeah.
office. Almost like the mosquito defoggers. Like in your...
Like fumigation?
Hey, come into the dental office
Wow.
and...
Wow.
And now open wide.
I mean,
Well, I just think you guys have the best equipment. I mean, your hyper magnification glasses that you have. I mean,
Yes.
Let me qualify this.
They're very sexy.
Emily
It's very
is
sexy gear.
yeah, they're super sexy.
Yeah.
They're super hot, Emily.
Yeah.
Because Emily is our dentist, so just want to say that
Yeah.
we have firsthand experience
That's right.
of the super hot,
Yes.
sexy
The glasses
magnification
that are bigger than
glasses.
these microphones.
Yeah.
And what is the name of that dental office that we all should be going to?
Batson
Yeah.
Prosthodontics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
that's amazing. I mean, when you think about, well, I mean, we're going to talk
Well,
the
and
chip
also
here
a
too.
runner. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
it's incredible to think where we come from as kids and how we've kind of ended up where we are and why we've ended up in that spot. So
yeah, it's just a journey. I mean, it's just been a great
a great
journey.
ride.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like, to reflect back on this, and I'm curious to hear, Chip, when you
Yeah.
think about, like, what is the next frontier? I mean, I can see how when people get to this point in their career, they start to wonder, like, what is my level of relevance? I know all the old stuff. The graduates that come out now are learning from ChatGPT.
yeah,
So,
AI. I was going to say
Oh,
AI
boy.
is just
and I don't, that's good and bad. There's good and bad with that. But to be able to have, all of that, like, okay, I've got 20 or 22 years of experience behind me. I'm not going to say that's like puts me ahead, but I do wonder, like,
I think it puts
what
you
is the
ahead.
next 10 years going to bring?
we were thinking about that in education too.
Yeah.
It's very similar in the world that we're living in too. We're like, are we even going to have jobs in 10 years? I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Are robots
Right.
going to take over? I mean, there's days I would love that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have to deal with maybe some of the, regulations.
Right. Staffing problems.
Yeah. Just,
Maybe we'll all have to join the circus, and that's
Yeah.
going to be the.
But at the same time, the human element, I just don't think you can replace that.
No, you have great relationships with your
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah, I think I've got a great group,
Yeah.
Great staff members. It was tough during COVID, right after COVID.
Well, and I think it's still
Yeah.
tough, isn't it? The job market is still very quirky, right?
yeah.
Like quiet
Yeah.
quitting.
As a
and-
small business owner, I can just
They
imagine.
just don't show up. And
Yeah.
people just don't show up.
We'll get to
even
it.
when they confirm, I'll
God.
be there for the interview, and then they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
show up, or they'll come for the first part of the interview, and you have them scheduled. So you schedule your schedule around them, and then they don't show up.
Yeah.
It's
They ghost you.
And yet you still have to kind of capitulate to them because,
need 'em.
they kind of have the power in this
Yeah.
scenario, which is not the way it used to be.
Yeah, no, it's like switched.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure we were all like, first job, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Even if it was
Yeah.
Wendy's or McDonald's.
Video
Like,
King.
yeah, I'm just so happy to have a job.
Yeah.
Okay, making
Yeah.
$3 an hour, whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's no, they're like, I want 26 an hour, and I've actually never done this job before, but I still want 26 an hour,
Yeah.
and I want this and this. And it was like, well,
Yeah.
no.
I think my first job was $2 an hour, and I didn't even get free video rentals.
So he
No,
did.
that's a real
so
tragedy.
you
So I
you invented
so-
quiet quitting.
So
didn't you, Eric?
I made it a
You
day.
were the first quiet
I made
quitter.
it one day.
You one day.
Yes.
One day. Dad would be so
You
proud.
and Evan were,
Yes, we were
the
spoiled little
pioneers.
shits.
Pioneers.
We were.
And Evan, you'll appreciate this. Evan Quiet quit
Cryoneers.
at Master Drive.
Oh, really?
I know.
Nice.
He
What's
did.
his- yeah,
He
worked there
did.
for him.
Okay.
Okay,
So, Chip, we
let's
wanna
let's
hear
hear your
from
journey.
you.
Let's hear your background.
Leave no stone
The,
unturned.
the amazing siblings.
Yes.
I would also like to know about the bread bags on the feet.
Oh, we'll
Like,
get to the bread bags.
The bread
We'll get
bags
there.
when we were kids and went out in the snow under our boots. That
It was waterproofing. It was effective. It was good if you had the right bag. Paper didn't work so well though, so the paper bags weren't effective. But I know that because I'm an engineer. My name is Loren Hutchins. They call me Chip. I graduated from the Colorado School of Mines, and my career evolved through basically starting in consulting. And I was working on packaging equipment, Coors, Anheuser-Busch, Keebler, some of those big things. But I think as young engineers, what happens is you have to feel out a bunch of different environments. And so, a job in consulting can be great. If you get kind of pigeonholed into one area, often your career will be dictated for you. So the thing that I learned is that in that industry, through consulting, I got into a few medical jobs, designing medical equipment and just being part of that. And I realized in the medical field, one, it's a bit more specialized. Two, it's heavily regulated. And three, it gives you an opportunity to strive if you have the patience and focus to really, handle and tolerate what the government does with regulations and all sorts of things. So I got into the medical field. I've been there for probably about the last 20 years. And it's incredible to be able to change people's lives. It's a lot of fun to be able to develop, but it's a slower pace. And I think what people need to understand is if you are very meticulous and you like repetition and following procedures and really being on charge and in charge of things and being on top of producing something time and time again with excellent quality, you kind of want to be a quality engineer. But if you like fast-paced, innovative, you want to, always be doing something new every 6 months, you've got to get into a different industry. Believe it or not, the toy company, I had a lot of friends who work for Mattel. They have to come up with a new product every fall or, spring going into fall, going into the Christmas season. So they had a fast-paced role. They always loved it, a lot of new things. But again, it's kind of the same product with a little differentiation each year. The thing with medical is you get to know your patients. You get to know your ultimate customer. And I think the part that's really interesting or fun there is that you just get to offer something that people come back and you see that it changes their lives. And so I've enjoyed it, but it is stressful. I work for a medical startup now, and it can be tough when you're operating a business, which is essentially on borrowed money most of the time. That's an extreme amount of pressure. So the thing that I've learned there is you have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to make decisions, and you also have to be willing to take the heat when it gets, something goes wrong. So I've enjoyed it immensely, but to just really describe what people need to choose when they're looking at their career or really thinking about what makes them happy is which one of those aspects gives you the greatest satisfaction day in and day out. And for me, I think it is that idea of proving that you can do something, being successful at it. But I also say there's a certain amount of confidence you have to make those calls. And, Emily, you were talking about young people starting out in their career. The thing that I noticed is older people in their career versus younger people in their career, experience is huge. At the beginning, when you're younger, you look and say, why do they get paid more? I just don't see it. And all you need is one or two critical times in your career to look and say, that decision is why they're worth twice what I'm doing or whatever. Because they had the confidence, experience, and really are just willing to make the call. And I think that's what you're going to see in anybody in their career is that the elderly, the older people, however you want to call us, near to retirement, they're willing to just take the risk, and they're also willing to take that accountability. But I think it's always funny because when I was young, I would be so interested in trying to impress the people above me. And then when you get to that point where perhaps you're the higher level person, you look back and you're like, relax. It's okay. You made a mistake. We all do it. But at that time, it's really hard. So, I applaud those folks who come out of college and they want to do their best and they work so hard and they're looking for that reward. But the thing that I am like is slow down, relax. Most of the time, it's not the end of the world. But at the flip side, you do need to listen to those who, have more experience. Mm-hmm. Seniority counts for a reason. And you seldom can appreciate that until you're later on in your career. So, as I said, I, started out consulting, broad-based, doing all sorts of different design, kind of gotten into medical, and that's probably where I'm going to end up, the end of my career. Yeah.
So, what, when we think about specifics, or when we talk about specifics, your patents that you developed, you started with a kind of smaller firm before you went into your own. Your career evolution started with Baxa, and then moved to Baxter, which I think is hilarious that you went to such similar named companies. Yes. But your original work was on, and correct me if I'm wrong, was developing a patent for a parenteral nutrition IV pump for premature babies, and you hold those patents for that design. And didn't you travel like all over the world implementing that machine to teach like hospitals and clinics how to use it? Is that correct? Because the hardware side is your design, and then software is somebody else's purview.
Yeah, I was lead engineer, but I want to be respectful to the company. I worked for Baxa. In that company, the patent that they had on that I was not part of that one.
Okay.
I was part of what they called a repeater pump, which was a different kind of area. But the primary product that I worked on and was a product expert for probably 12 years. I mean, part of a very large team. We never want to imply one person does anything. Mm-hmm. But yes, I was kind of the lead mechanical engineer on a pump that was parental nutrition, which is if you're ever in an accident and you can't eat because your jaw or something is wrong, you're fed through an IV line. And so that product, through coincidence of timing, as the company called Baxa, we were in a perfect situation where Baxter had a little bit of an issue where the FDA had come down on them and they were not able to sell their product. So that gave our product a launching point, which truly made us grow at a phenomenal rate that I don't think anybody could have anticipated at the beginning. But yes, that is a part of the career if you play it right. That was wonderful. I did get to travel the whole world, China, Europe, South America, Canada, US, all over. But the key there was it was an opportunity. And much like in most business, lightning strikes and you get a little bit fortunate. And so it allowed that one. But yeah, no, that was incredibly fun. And that was just due to, again, in medical, things go so slow. You tend to work on it for a long time. And then you become kind of wed to it, where it's your baby or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And so I got to probably a point where it was almost unhealthy how protective I was of the product and didn't want to give the reins over to anybody else. But we had an amazing team. And so I was very proud of what happened there. But it'd just be a little arrogant to say I was the key of anything. I mean, concept was there. We redesigned it. We brought it along. We babysat it, and we made it to what it is today, which is the world's #1 selling parental nutrition pump in the world. So,
yeah. Wasn't it the the
EM2400 compounder? So,
okay, wow. Excellent. I used it in my organizational leadership class. I actually had a case study on it that I used with students, and then after the big reveal was, and my brother designed it.
Yeah,
and cool. Students were so impressed. But moving on to the acquisition of Baxa by Baxter, then you continued with that. And I know they acquired it, those sneaky devils. Yeah. And then you continued working on it. But then, as you mentioned, moved into taking a real risk with a startup, like a venture capital startup, where, as you said, the pressures of building capital are ever present. and you are the Chief Technical Officer for Vaporox. Can you explain what the product is that you're designing there and what it does?
Yeah. So basically, it's designed to treat diabetic foot ulcers, VLUs, DFUs, any kind of an open wound, frostbite, gangrene. We don't resolve infections. What we do is we enable the body to heal itself. So we do have patents on that one, on the design, which is nice. But again, it was a concept which had been started probably close to 15 years ago. The original company had trouble kind of monetizing it and getting it across the finish line. So we kind of inherited a product that had a fundamental design but needed a lot of improvement. So we worked on that and got it. But the general idea is that any kind of an open wound, like pressure ulcers, bed sores, things that are always a nuisance for doctors post-surgery, right? So we just help the human body heal through basically.
Would burns also be in that category? Burns?
Yeah, burns would be in it. Any kind of a surface wound, and the situation is that it's very hard to get a wound to close when you don't have good circulation. We'll just use diabetics as it. A lot of them have neuropathy in their feet. They will stub their toe, they'll get a huge cut, step on something, they have no idea what's going on, right? They don't feel it. And often some of these people aren't the most healthy. They can't necessarily even see their feet. And so what happens is those wounds will quickly get infected. And if they're not treated, or the way they have to treat them is they have to debride the wound, which is they cut away a lot of the human tissue, right? And so
the necrotic tissue.
Yeah, all of the dead tissue, right? So basically they can amputate toes, but you can't go much past that. You can't take half a foot. You can't go to the ankle. So once you lose your toes, you basically are going to just below the knee on an amputation situation. So we have incredible healing results. Between 80% plus if they're compliant with how they keep it clean, come to the doctor's office, get their treatments. Yeah. But it's just really exciting because this is an area that it's not flashy, right? I mean, wound care, there's not a lot of innovation that's happened. And so in the last few years, we've kind of been able to make a splash and bring things out that we have a solution that is effective if you follow the rules. So we're very pleased with it so far. And again, we are operating in a good situation as a startup. It's very hard for startups to make it. We're operating thus far in the black, so we're good. But I'd say the most exciting thing there is that you have to adapt to your environment. We started out focusing, in podiatrist's office and things of that nature. Then we've, moved into skilled nursing facilities. Those are the ones that have, people who are less mobile, and infections will set in areas. And, they're seeing that we can help them immensely in that space. So, we started with one business model, you pivot, you go to another one, and there may be a third one come up. But the potential is huge. I mean, we're really only tapping, let's say, 2 to 3 out of the 7 modalities that we could really help. So it's been fun and exciting.
It's just fascinating to see how our siblings have ended up. I gotta say, both of our siblings are just so impressive. It's just like
so impressive.
It's pretty amazing,
Yeah.
I just
should we take credit since we're the older ones?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the older
perhaps
brother,
it was
the older
due
sister.
to our mentoring.
Yeah, I think the older sibling had a lot to do with that,
Sure,
and therefore they should write a check.
Our molding.
They should write a check to.
Oh please, no. We're just
I
saying.
don't know. Was it? I think I learned what not to do from Eric.
Oh my god.
Fair enough.
It's so interesting to see that, like, in our childhoods, all of us, we've ended up helping people. I mean, we've just, through engineering, through surgery, through education, something in our background, our parents, it's some combination of our inculcation.
And Admar's supplying the city with energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Supposedly. That's what I do every day.
He does.
Energy education.
It's true.
Yes.
But we did. We just ended up helping others. I mean, where does that did it come from dad? Did it come from mom? Did
Both.
it come from both?
Yeah, I mean,
Dr.
would you
Z.
say the same with your parents? I mean, educators.
I would
and-
say, and our grandfather was an engineer, top engineer. He had patents for underwater communication cable during the war with Simplex. He was pretty noteworthy, and if you look him up, he has like a Wikipedia or something comes up on him if you look him up on the internet that he was
It's those big copper cables,
had
right?
these,
In the bottom
these
of the
patents
ocean.
that were influential in communications during the
Yeah.
war. He was an MIT grad,
Oh,
so our Chip follows in his footsteps for sure. And his name, he was the second, Loren. My dad the third, Chip the fourth, and Chip's son is the fifth. And
Who
he's
is
also
brilliant.
yeah, also yeah.
Ted's very
Well,
smart.
we know how to count to 5. That's one thing.
In Roman numerals. And
Yeah.
V.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It is just so interesting. I'm just, so I guess for anybody who's going to be watching this show, the idea is that you never really know for sure, like how things are going to end up. Because I'm sure that, as kids, you didn't. I mean, when you were dancing and stuff, right, and doing gymnastics and stuff you weren't thinking about I'm going to be cutting people's mouths open
I was
and
going to go on Broadway.
I was going to go on Broadway, right? Because you studied under Betsy, right? Betsy Acree. Chip, when you were a kid, you didn't.
I wanted to dance. I also had a dream of Broadway.
He wanted to dance his heart out. In fact,
Yeah.
my
somewhere
God.
there are pictures of you in a tutu. Yeah,
Liesl.
and that was me.
Why would you do that to
Again,
your
my
brother?
influence, because I did a little dancing, but I was the worst one.
Well,
by
I was
far.
only boy in the family
Yeah.
with nothing but females on it. So
Yeah.
I had to fit in any way I could.
Yeah.
Survival.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of it.
No,
Oh my God.
not at all.
Very funny.
No scars.
No,
no
none,
Scars. No scars. None.
none whatsoever.
I know who I am. I'm fine.
Oh my God.
None at all.
Yeah, no, for me it was drumming all the time. Drumming. I mean, to think that I would end up as a school teacher or middle school teacher, no less. I was just.
I can't remember who was asking me last week about Ella's roommate was asking about how we all got to where we are and how did Ella start playing violin, and she was like 5 and it was just a random like park concert and they had a little area to the side where kids could go and play instruments, and she just picked up the violin and it was like
Started playing.
I mean, it was instant.
Yeah.
Like I've never had to ask her once to practice.
Yeah.
It's just been automatic.
No, your daughter's pretty amazing. She's.
But I thought about you, and you were like piano.
No, I kind of experimented. I did the experimental
Didn't you?
clarinet. Oh God, that was. Whoo, boy, that was a.
So you describe the dying duck or
Yeah,
whatever. it was.
Yeah.
the big difference between a clarinet and an oboe, right? The clarinet burns longer. So that was kind of like my attitude towards that instrument. And then, piano for a little while, which I still noodle a little bit here and there. I tried some guitar, a little bit. But no, as soon as I saw the Buddy Rich concert that Dad took me to, I was like,
Well, I
was
remember
hooked.
whoever the drummer was that sold you the snare, the first tiger striped
Oh my
snare.
God,
and
how do you remember
it was
that?
like-
That's crazy.
Because
It was like an
I think I
old,
was in my pajamas.
old
and
Ludwig.
This guy comes in with a hairband. It was like someone straight out of Poison. Like, here's the snare, and I mean that for you was like, yeah, that
Flashy,
All of a
tiger,
sudden,
flashy
you know.
tiger, yeah. I thought all the chicks would line up for that one. Yeah, that was,
was it. They did,
yeah.
I think.
All 2 of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
You got 'em.
It was more like the peeps.
You were good, buddy.
The peeps were the chicks that I got like for Easter. That was about all I got for that one.
Those are awful. I hate
Yeah.
peeps.
Yeah, oh
I'm
God,
not a peep fan.
those are really awful.
They have a weird texture.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, when you hit that passion, then I started, shedding for a long time. I remember practicing so long at one point that my fingernails were bleeding, and I just taped them up. Like when you're like 15, you can do that kind of crap.
Yeah.
You just tape up your fingers and off you go and keep going. Now.
If he needed the wound care at that time,
I
would've
needed
been perfect.
Vaporox.
We could have healed those fingers much faster.
instead of the duct tape and the oh god, good times. So,
Well, Eric's the type of person that he gets a small cut and he's like, it's to the bone.
yeah, I do.
To the bone.
It's true, yeah. And then Liesl's the kind of person, she has like a massive head wound, and she's like, it's fine. Her brain is coming out of her ear. We don't have to go to the hospital. I'm like, Liesl, your arm is off. We'll just go with it. I'll take a naproxen.
Okay.
Join us on this path, let's ignite the blaze. So grab your headphones tight, let's go for a ride. With every spin and twist, we'll cut and run and hide. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture, oh what a blend. Join on the journey and let's set the trend. As we close the chapter, let us your year. The Prime Directive's calling, so let's pass that beer. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture.